Remember when we used to talk about the paperless office,
e-commerce,
signing a contract on paper,
and even giving out an agent's pager number?
We're in a mobile world.
We're in a mobile world, and your business needs to be too.
It's a digital world.
Workflow is changing, and so too are our experiences.
There are over 350 prop tech players right now
competing for the space.
How do you keep up with it all? And what's next?
Welcome to Founders,
a new podcast with Josh Phegan
on the future of workflow in real estate.
Welcome to Founders, Series 3. And today we've got an incredible feature interview with one of the great guys of tech, Daniel Bignold, CEO of Props. Daniel, so great to have you back in the studio today. We're going to talk a lot about what's actually happening in the props world because you made a lot of changes since we caught up with you last year. This year, there's a big focus on what you've done with a whole new range of tools and reorganization to think a lot about what we've got to call capture, qualify, and convert. Talk to us about some of the problems that real estate agents face and how some of these tools are making it easier for them to be better in front of both buyers and sellers alike.
Terrific. Thanks, Josh. Yeah, so look, as we position the business now, it's all about, as you mentioned, capture, qualify, and convert that buyer interest. So thinking about the top of the funnel about capturing. So it's all about now leveraging our app. So it's a digital app that they can download. Any agent can utilize it, download it from the App Store, Google Play. And essentially, in its simplest form, is a digital business card. So that digital business card is a nice way to really start to capture that buyer interest, capture details, and bring those buyers into their ecosystem. And then we bring them through to the qualify. The qualify stage is then all about helping to actually transfer those buyers through the sales funnel. So helping to understand how interested they are, what sort of price feedback, et cetera, and give them the ability to still make an offer. And so all of those steps are essentially, buying signals to actually help to qualify that buyer. Then through to the final stage of conversion. So it can really allow an agent to really take their campaigns to a whole new level, leverage all of the full tools of the props platform that they may already know to actually really convert that interest into more deals done.
It's such an interesting conversation because you start to have a quick look about, okay, let's just take the capture piece first up. And it's like, it's quite bizarre when someone would ask me, oh, hey, can I have a business card? And I was like, what? Like, didn't we just email each other last week? Or, oh, now I've just got to get your number. And then you've got to kind of text them. And then maybe they gave you a wrong number. And then literally it always goes backwards and forwards. But the digital business card has actually really evolved. And I was amazed at the tech side of stuff that when you're downloading that from the App Store, there's actually a whole range of things that it does. So it's not just the contact details. It's like full customization. So whether or not you're looking at brand and color and also to the links that you're sending people to, your social accounts, all of the mobile numbers, the contact details, everything that you need. And that then lets you then take that and actually make it shareable so someone can just scan a QR code right the way through to actually having a special card that you can actually have on you, which can have near-field communication devices involved in it. And then in addition to that, being in a position that you can put inside of your Apple Wallet to go and share. Talk to us a little bit about it because the card's got some incredible customization, even down to some CRM integrations and what it's actually doing to be able to share some of your listings, some of your testimonials, and even some sold results that might have happened.
Yeah, you're spot on, Josh. So, gone are the days of really sharing a paper-based or cardboard-based card. As you said, a lot of people really don't carry cards these days. So what we've actually tried to do is take the whole concept of a digital business card and take it to a whole new generation. So it's all about not only, as you said, being able to share my contact details, but everyone's so focused on their socials these days and that, they know they have to have social media profiles and constantly post. So what this is actually doing is creating a digital profile for an agent so that they can, when they share it, they actually share contact details, all their socials, any important links to websites, appraisal links, whatever it may be. But really importantly, if they take it to the next level into that sort of qualify phase, they can have this digital business card that actually syncs with their CRM. So then all of their properties, their live properties from their CRM are part of that digital profile for that agent that they're sharing every time with buyers, vendors alike.
So tell us a little bit about more how that works. Like, is that updated all the time when someone looks back at the business card? Is it just at that particular point when they're given the business card? And what can they do? Can they click on the listings? Tell us a little bit about how that works.
So look, it's a live feed with the CRM. So basically, as soon as that's shared with a buyer, that becomes basically a profile that sits on the on the buyer's phone. The buyer can then download and add the contact to their phone using the normal sort of functionality of the phone, whether it's an Android or iPhone. And then that page, essentially the digital profile page, is a live page that can stay on their phone if they don't shut down that window. And so, but also the link is a live link. So even if they go back later to maybe access that link again from, say, the agent's website or other places that it might be shared, it is live. So any properties that change, if they're sold or they get taken off the market, etc., that link into their properties is always live, and it's not only feeding one way, i.e., into the agent's digital profile. It actually feed all the buyer details that are entered and when they're captured from registrations, etc., all feeds back into the CRM. So it's a really nice way of having not only a nice streamlined version, a streamlined process for the buyer, but it actually cuts down on admin time and data entry and issues like that for the agent.
So it's interesting because on the back end, when you go to customize your links, you've got things like, add to contacts, call me, make an offer, which actually, links to the offer form on those properties, book an appraisal, which collects the leads for you, show your recent sales and even your testimonials that are actually going on. And then you've got like full customization around what you're doing with your profile picture and branding around logos and colors and socials, your personal details, and also to the company details of who you're actually working for, like locations and websites. And it's pretty amazing when you go to see like the speed at which you do this. A couple of minutes after you've got it built, you're in a position that then you've got a QR code. That QR code is that then you're in a position that you can share that, whether or not it's on your Apple wallet, any of your wallets actually, and order some physical cards, or you can print that QR code, even if you just want that on maybe a brochure or something like that people are actually seeing. So then that way they can get all of the information that they need exactly when they need it. It's a pretty interesting conversation. Where do people get access to be able to get a copy of their own digital business card?
Yeah, spot on. So anyone can download it. So it's in the App Store if you're using an iPhone. It's in the Google Play Store if you're using Android. And we absolutely encourage anyone and everyone to download it and start using it purely as a digital business card initially. Now, this can be residential, can be commercial, can be property management, can be business owners. Anyone can obviously download this and start using it as a card. And then really taking it to the next level is when they would then think about, okay, do I want to then have CRM integration? If I want that CRM integration, that's a choice they can make, and that's a paid step, and they can purchase that in-app. So it's up to them.
So it's a really amazing thing because at your bare basics, you've got your card straight away. If you want some additional advanced features, there's a paid component to that.
Right.
It's interesting because when we first started our journey with props, it was all about the make an offer button. And what you've done is you've done some further data analysis and research to understand that literally this is starting to evolve. And it's about how do we actually make it so the tool is more available for maybe some reluctant consumers, but also to get people into a position that they're getting to the funnel earlier, not just at that final stage where they're about to go to make the offer. It also really helps agents specifically who are looking to be able to make sure that they're qualifying better quality buyers who want to be kept in the loop about a property when it comes to even an auction and some of those things where traditionally the make an offer might have actually caused a little bit of friction for us. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about the evolution of what's actually happened with the flexibility and the technology and what it's now doing to actually help to separate, what you're doing to register an interest right the way through to actually being able to make an offer if that's the thing that you desire as a part of your sales process?
Yeah, totally. And you're spot on. So where we did start was literally a very basic make an offer button that would be added to an agent's website on the listing. The challenge with that was that, when an agent is obviously engaged with a buyer at an open, they're having a conversation there and they don't want to let the risk of that buyer getting away. So they don't want to say, look, when you get home, jump onto my website and click on this button and make an offer. So we wanted to give something to the agent in their hands so they could strike while the iron's hot. So it was all about saying, well, look, we could basically build this into an app. When they're sharing their details with a buyer, they could actually then capture those details from that buyer and really start to, as I said before, bring them into that ecosystem and start pulling them through the funnel. Now, this can be for any listing, any campaign. So before, as you quite rightly mentioned, we did focus heavily on the private treaty type campaigns. But now it's available for everyone and any campaign. So because you want to actually capture buyers' details and get them to register their interest regardless of whether it's auction, whether you're actually accepting offers prior to auction or not, whether it's private treaty, tender, sale by set date, etc.
So there's a lot more flexibility as a part of that process because, as a part of that, if you don't want someone to make an offer because of whatever's happening inside of your sales campaign at this point, then ultimately you can use the register an interest. And I was challenging you before off air about, okay, so what's the difference between me sending an email and me being in a position that I register an interest on a property? What signal does it send to the buyer psychologically What does it actually do as a part of that campaign to really get to that qualification stage, as opposed to just sending an email and actually clicking on that register an interest button?
Well, it's two things really. One is not only does it actually elevate your whole buyer experience. So you obviously, if you just say, look, if a buyer's interested, look, flick me an email, flick me a text. It's a pretty basic process, right? So by leveraging a platform such as this and a process such as this really elevates that buyer experience and creates quite a difference for you as an agent, can be a good listing tool. That's the one side. The second side is from the buyer's perspective, it gives them confidence. So buyers love this. So, when a buyer flicks a text message to an agent saying, I'm interested to offer X for a property, they may or may not get a response straight away. They may or may not know whether or not it's going to get, processed in the way they would like it to. So what happens here is this, because this agent can now set up a process and say, here's how you can buy this property, register here, you've got access to documents, place an offer here, it steps them through the process. And when it's actually submitted, they can see it's been submitted. And so it creates a real confidence for the buyer to know, not only can I get guided through the process, but I know it's getting dealt with the way I want it to get dealt with.
So Daniel, one of the other conversations is that the make an offer thing was sometimes prohibitive for agents, particularly in an auction process. But you're actually working on something now that actually might change that whole view. What are some things that we can do to make auction work as a part of this process?
Yeah, so basically, some properties actually are available for offers prior to auction, obviously. So if an agent chooses to, they can make the offer button available. In some instances, they might not. So in those instances where they may not, we're actually building a new feature called Register to Bid. So essentially what that will mean is if, for instance, the property isn't available for offers prior, the agent can actually have the button label as Register to Bid, and they can invite all of their potential bidders to go and register there. We will obviously register their details, verify their mobile and email, and do a full ID verification of that buyer as well, and then get them all ready and registered, and it obviously syncs back to the CRM, ready to have a full list to print out on auction day, which is terrific.
The bizarre thing about this is that I remember when registration first came in for auctions in New South Wales as a requirement for residential, and everyone was really afraid that no bidders were ever going to go and turn up. But what actually happened is it actually allowed us to know, at a qualification level, who are the people that are about to do the transaction. So what we actually do in terms of sales process is we now say to people, hang on a second, if you've got an auction on a Saturday, make sure that you go to all your buyers and try to get them to register to bid on maybe the Monday or the Tuesday, so you can work out exactly where the strength is going to be. So then you know exactly what auction strategy you're going to be playing out before you actually get to auction day.
Exactly.
Founders is brought to you by Josh Phegan Digital. When we were setting out to go and create Josh Phegan Digital, we just had this whole idea that we wanted training to be on demand. And everything in our life is on demand. We just press play inside of the Netflix app. We press play on YouTube, play on Spotify. Why couldn't we just press play on training? And what we decided is we want to be super relevant to real estate agents, so that in under a couple of minutes each day, if you wanted to, you could upskill and you could grow in new ways. And so we decided that we were going to release this thing that we called The Edit, which is basically the latest in property news stories that's happening every week right the way around the country, so you could be incredibly sharp in your conversations with sellers. And then we built out the short courses, which was all about rapidly building skills, whether or not it's about learning how to get better fees or to put on an assistant. And then we actually wanted to give you access to blueprints, so you didn't have to wait for it every year. You could just watch it whenever you wanted and actually go from zero to hero around everything that it takes, from goal setting, self and energy management, what you're doing around prospecting, listing, negotiation, and actually just have a system for the way that you work. Together with, getting really inspired by some of the best people in the industry with the black and white interviews. Josh Phegan Digital is available on iOS and also on Android. It's an incredible app, and it gives you everything that you'll need to be a much better agent. It's time to switch on.
And what I love about this is that, all the friction points in negotiation always come back down to the fact that, different agents in the same office take an offer in a different way. So literally, let's say, for example, you've got a classic listing. It's not super hot, but you've got one agent who's got a buyer, and then you've got the listing agent who's got a buyer. But whose buyer is actually going to get up? And the law of averages probably says the listing agent's buyer is going to get up, because they're going to be quicker and faster to their vendor, all of the above. But yet, is that actually in the best interest of the owner if there's actually two really good offers on the table? So this was kind of foundational, because you kind of stole my steam when I was a sales rep when I was first starting out. And I used to have the 6 elements of an offer. So, the name, the entity, the solicitor that they were going to use, maybe the deposit amount, maybe any conditions that might be coming with that offer, and finally the purchase price itself. And this has been wonders in training for years, because lots of agents realize that all they'd ever do is usually maybe get an offer and get a number, but not get the rest of the detail. So when it actually came to getting that to a contract, getting into a position that was unconditional, there was gaps. It was missing. Or even worse than that, a particular buyer gets up and that's going to be the one. And then when you delve into the details, there's actually something that's really untenable in that offer, which we didn't smoke out early enough. And you've already burnt the really good buy because you're in a position that you're chasing someone else who looked like they were more lucrative, but they had like a 180-day settlement timeline. So what's really interesting here is that you're moving to a position of really systemizing that offer process and getting into a position that it's really clean and clear so that literally you can actually compare the pair. Now, as a part of that driver, first of all, let's think about the stages. You've got register an interest. So someone can register an interest and basically say, hey, I want access to documents. I want to have a conversation about it. Keep me informed of what's actually going on because this property does hold an interest for me.
Right.
Or we can then move in and we can change buttons and move it into a position, hey, let's actually now make an offer or send the link for them to go to do that, to fill through all of the offer forms to collect all of that information, which can then push into the appropriate tools for them to be able to get that to a contract and make all of that occur. How does someone actually register an interest? Does that sit, again, on the listing on the website? Is that something that can be sent as a link? How does that work?
Yeah, really importantly, we don't have a website, so it all sits on the agent's website. So it's all white label, agent brand, agent website. So whenever an agent shares the link, and they could share it in multiple ways, face-to-face at an open, they can SMS it, they can email it, they can have it on post-OFI, automated workflows, emails, SMSs, etc.
Could they scan a QR code to go to that?
Can scan a QR code, they can have printed QR codes on in the
so
property.
You could just put it on the property brochure.
Exactly, on the property brochure, signboards, whatever it is, right? So once they share that, the whole point is that the buyer then can actually engage on the agent's website and under the agent's brand. So it's considered, part of the agent's offering. And so they just click on the button, register interest, and then they basically follow the steps. So they can register, they can say what sort of level of interest they actually have on that property. They can give price feedback, and this is gold. So
as opposed to an offer, it's actually just feedback?
Correct. It can just be a price feedback indication. And then when they can actually collect all of the buyer's feedback, that's gold for the conversation to have with my vendor, right? So then I can say, look, here's the level of interest from all the buyers so far, and here's the price they're basically indicating that this property's worth. And then if the agent chooses to, they can make contract of sale available, whatever other documents available, and they can actually communicate to all registered buyers through this means as well. So they can make announcements. So then buyers can actually access that whenever they choose to. And then finally, if relevant and if available, they can make an offer. And again, all of that data is captured, everything's tracked, every single interaction that buyer has had on the platform is date and time stamped, and then it all syncs back to their CRM.
It's pretty amazing when you go to see, how technologies actually make it easier and faster and better. One of the criticisms that people are like, I don't want to send someone to an offer form. But one of the things that we said, well, hang on a second, this is actually a technology that you can use whilst you're face-to-face. So you as the agent can actually be taking an offer from someone and walking them through that offer form in a digital form. So you're pulling up your iPad, pulling up an iPhone, whatever it is, and you're actually taking through and writing out all of the details so that you've actually got it captured in a system that you trust. That's a really important step for agents to actually realize that no more randomization. It's like literally, guys, we've got a uniform process about how we actually take offers in this business. So that literally we're managing all of the risk issues. We're in a position that we've got a high level of compliance, but ultimately we can compare the pair when those offers actually come in. Talk to us a little bit about that if an offer gets to a desirable level and it's acceptable, how does that then proceed? How does that then make it to a contract of sale or any of those types of things to actually make all of that come together?
Yeah, so that's really closing the loop on that negotiation piece. So obviously once there's various offers may have been made, the agent's doing their job and negotiating back and forth. And like you said, it can be face-to-face, can be digital or online in some way. And then the agent has a whole bunch of actions they can take. So they can respond back to the buyer, they can forward it to the vendor, or if it's something they want to put on contract, they can actually say, let's put it on contract. So all those features are part of the platform, and it can also work in with the existing integrations with the agent's CRM. So they can grab one of those offers, put it on contract, and then go and have a conversation with the vendor. So it depends on the agent's normal processes. They may want to put 2 or 3 on contract and go and get the vendor to sign one. They may just take one through. However they want to use it, it's very flexible for that.
So it's a really interesting conversation because what did the research indicate about the difference between make an offer versus register an interest? And how is that helping to capture and to move into a position that we can then qualify more of those buyers before we get to the final point of conversion in putting a deal together?
Yeah, this is really interesting because, we intentionally started right at that pointy end. So we wanted to get the very, very highly qualified buyer that's ready to make an offer. And that was where we started. But the challenge was that, in a market that started to turn, there weren't that many buyers actually making offers. And so the agent really had to extract offers out of a lot of buyers or out of less buyers, really. So what we actually did to try and help combat that was we wanted to move up the funnel more. So we said, well, okay, let's move away from the very pointy end for those that are ready to make an offer. Let's just go to very, very high up the funnel for those that just might be interested in that property. They're not ready to make an offer, but they're interested and somewhat interested to stay involved, stay in contact with that particular property. So we changed the label, obviously, and there's still flexibility. The agent can choose whichever button label they choose. But with the register interest, it's found that the conversion is so much higher. So a lot more buyers are willing to say, yep, I'm interested. Let's register, throw my hat in the ring, and I want to be kept informed as to what's going on with this property. And so what that's done is actually allowed the props platform to open up to a lot more buyers. So we've had about 21,000 buyers register on the platform so far, and so it's creating it as a tool that's a lot broader.
It's interesting as an agent, like sometimes you look at things and you go, oh, geez, that's going to be hard. How hard is it and how quickly could someone add a register an interest to a listing on their website?
It's actually surprisingly very simple. So, we did it. We set up your digital card the other day in a few seconds. So it's about downloading the card, getting it set up. I think the hardest thing is choosing the right profile photo for yourself on the card.
I had a few.
Yeah. Well, you do. You have lots of lovely photos. So I think that's the hardest bit, setting that up, set that piece up. And then once they've done that, all they have to do is request a CRM integration. We then get the ID in the back end and then sync it up, and then your properties will come through, and that will automatically then have the register interest button attached to each listing.
So it's an amazing piece of technology. One of the things I think that props should be really proud about is the quality of your user interface. It's super clean. It's non-branded when it comes to an agent level, so it's not props trying to sell what they do in their world. It actually looks like it's you as an agent. And off the back of that, it's got a really robust process around everything that you do there in capturing that information. And it's amazing because that mobile first design has been an incredible part of what it is that you have always done from the beginning, which when you think about it, you access so much stuff on a mobile device, it needs to work. And literally, you don't want any of this tech to ever let you down at exactly the wrong moment. And that's a big part of what you've done is really making sure you're building out a solid platform. Is there anything else that people might need to know about props and how they might get involved?
Well, yeah, just I guess another bit of information around props in terms of our reach so far. So we've now been able to get about 12,000 agents on the platform now registered across the country. So we've certainly been adopted by the masses now, which is amazing. So we've locked in about 7 or 8 of the top major groups in the country utilising props. So we're really getting out there and getting some great coverage, which is terrific. The second point is that we've actually now started to look overseas. So we're now in 6 countries, which is pretty cool. So we've been able to spread the wings, and we're now in not only Australia, but New Zealand, Singapore, US, Canada, and UK. So we've now got agents all over the world using props, which is pretty cool.
Pretty amazing when you go to watch it. Daniel, if I'm in a position that I'm a business owner or a salesperson and I just want to get started, is it as easy as just going to the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store and just downloading the Props app?
Absolutely. Go to exactly either of those stores, type in PROPPS, Props, and then download it and you're away.
And Daniel, if someone wanted to get in touch with you, if they've got some additional questions where they might just want to get a bit of clarification, where would they go?
Yep, so they can come to our site, so props.com, so PROPPS.com. Obviously make an inquiry there, but please go and download the app and make use of it.
So, Daniel, I'm going to try and summarise everything for people in a nice little 1-minute. What Props does is it solves some great problems for you as a real estate agent. It allows you to build out your own digital business card, which has access to all of your listings, which can have your CRM integration, so the latest listings are there, down to testimonials and even your sales results, and all of your basic contact information, as well as any links to things that are important, social accounts, specific things that you might have on your own website. Beyond that, once you've done that and you're into the platform, that then allows you to then be able to set up that any property that you've currently got available for sale or auction can actually have a button applied against it, whether or not that be register an interest or make an offer. And They can actually capture that details because they want to be kept informed about what's happening during the course of the property transaction. Or if you're opening that up to allow them to go make an offer, that they can make an offer through the platform. That can be done in person. It can actually be you face-to-face as an agent when you're there, at an open for inspection, at a buyer appointment that you're doing with someone, right the way through to people being able to do it just directly off a link that you might send them as a part of the campaign. That link can actually be shared directly onto your website on any listing that you've actually got at a personal level, as well as a little QR code if you want to have that on a signboard or even on a printed brochure itself. And then it allows you to make sure that you've got a standardized process around what it is that you're doing to actually make sure that you've got consistent ways that offers are going to be taken by any agent inside of the brand. It produces a much better quality consumer experience. And off the back of that, it gets you all the detail so you don't get yourself into trouble with some niggly things that you forgot to ask about when you're trying to get an offer out of a buyer and trying to remember what you were supposed to ask. Daniel, have I done a good job? Have I got close?
Mate, that was amazing. I think I need to give you a job.
Yeah,
you did that better than me.
That's fantastic. Well, it's so great to have you, one of the best guys in residential real estate, and particularly in what's actually happening in the tech space. So great to see what Props is doing and the evolution of what you're doing to actually solve more agent problems more often. Guys, make sure that you go to the app stores and download your copy of Props, get into it, have a bit of fun with it, and see what it can do to actually change and revolutionize your process so that you can move into a position that you can capture, qualify, and convert.